Kurt is, I can see Kurt, but I cannot see the video. I'm not sure if that's intentional.
Yeah, I think he's here. Everybody is here. We can go live.
Yeah. Okay, we are live. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the last panel of ADEX Pixel Virtual Expo, or APE. We're bringing you the Dive Expo, the first ever online Dive Expo, to your house, and we are in our houses as well. The last panel today is, of course, very interesting as always, and it's going to be hosted and moderated by John Thet. So over to you, John.
Thank you, Jen. Hi, thank you for everyone, especially in this panel that is here. I'm too much respect and inspire me. It's like I really very happy and welcomes each and every one of you to really appreciate on it. And also, before I introduce to everyone in these panels, everybody is visionary. They've been created in the past for many. They have an experience they can share on many ways. And the most important part of this. The most important part of these things, can you hear us? Hello?
I hear you.
Yep,
Okay.
I can
Okay.
hear you.
My computer is suddenly off. Okay. The most important part of the being a part of the ocean, everybody only have one ocean, and I believe in you are whatever in it you are from what kind of different divers that we believe everybody need an ocean. So like we all the vision we all linked to the ocean, and we are in the industry together, we are in the community together. So we need to be pass it on what the inspire for the new generation. That is where I believe that I will be very interested to hear from your vision and your history. I think that is more important than your first dive. If you want to share, that would be great. But I also like to hear on your creativity of this in the industry, how you can be started on. And I like to introduce our panel. From the panel, we are Captain Paul Watson from Canada. Founder of the Sea Shuffle, and to Woman Diver Hall of Fame, L Doubilet is Woman Diver Hall of Fame. David Stripe, he's our ambassador of diving, and I think everybody knows that he is also he's founded the OSTEP before, and it is something a lot of history with in the past. Mega Menduno. And I would like to, Menduno, the Wyland is here, and Carl's Amsler. And I think I will leave it to each and one of you to have a little bit brief on 2 minutes each to share with us. Maybe you can share with yourself a little bit more about better. Can I start with Paul?
Well, certainly. I was certified in 1968, Jim Willoughby's Diver Den in Vancouver. And so it's been well over 50 years now. I'm very proud of the fact that one of our early supporters was Lloyd Bridges, certainly famous for his Sea Hunt, which is back in the 60s also. We've worked very closely, Sea Shepherd has worked very closely with the diving communities all over the world. And because we feel that divers as well as surfers and sailors are the true ambassadors for the ocean. And we need ambassadors to get the message across that the ocean is the life support system for the entire planet, for all life on this planet, and we're destroying it. You know, the ocean is the life support system on spaceship Earth, and it provides everything we need. Food, regulates climate and temperature, and produces oxygen, 70% of the oxygen, phytoplankton. And that entire life support system is run by a crew of hard-working Earthlings who, make it all possible. Not us. We humans, we're passengers. We're having a great time amusing ourselves. But what we are doing, we're killing crew members. There's only so many crew members you can kill before the machinery begins to fall apart and it all begins to collapse. And if the life support system collapses, so So that's why I've been saying for many, many years that if the ocean dies, we all die. And we have to learn to live in harmony with all other species on this planet, especially all of those species that make life possible in our. Phytoplankton has been diminished since 1950 by 40%. And for the most part, it's out of sight and it's out of mind. And phytoplankton not only provides most of the oxygen that we need, but it's being diminished because we're destroying other life forms in the sea. And therefore, the law of interdependence, the law of diversity kicks in. Phytoplankton needs nutrients, primarily nitrogen and iron. And that's supplied by whales and dolphins and seabirds and other marine creatures. And when we diminish their numbers, we diminish the supply of nutrients to phytoplankton, therefore striking at the very foundation of our life support system. Every single day, one blue whale defecates into the ocean 3 tons of fecal material, heavily rich in nitrogen and iron. They are the farmers of the ocean. They are providing those nutrients. And so when we destroy them and we destroy other sea creatures, we're upsetting a very, very delicate balance of interdependence. And unless we learn to deal with that, then the future doesn't bode very well. What we're looking at right now is the beginnings of ecological collapse, or what scientists call the Anthropocene, or the 6th major extinction. What that means is greater storms, rising sea levels, more acidification in the ocean, and the emergence of zoonotic transmitted viruses, which is what we're seeing right now. And the only way out of this is we have to abandon our anthropocentric delusions and adopt a biocentric point of view. The understanding that we're part of everything, we're not lord and master over everything, that our dependence, our life is dependent upon all those other sentient beings and non-sentient beings that share this planet with us. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. Anne?
Yes. Hi. So, Paul, like you, I got my diving certification in 1968. And at the time, I was the only girl in the class. It was very intimidating. The instructor was kind of like an Army drill sergeant kind of guy. And luckily, I muddled through and was lucky enough to then go from my open water diving to the Bahamas and Andros Island. And when I stepped off that boat into the clear, liquid, gorgeous turquoise, I was hooked. It was Alice in Wonderland through the looking glass. And ever since then, my whole life has been in the ocean. And over the years, so I've now been diving around the planet for almost 50 years, Paul, like you. And the changes that I have seen have absolutely shocked me beyond anything I could comprehend. Just like living through this COVID-19 period in our lives, bringing us all to our knees, the whole planet, we're all connected. But over the years, all the changes that I've seen in the ocean and in our planet has turned me into an ardent conservationist. And I do everything I can now to talk with younger people and mentor younger people and bring people up into what's happening now in the oceans. And every time I go to give a talk somewhere, I'm shocked at how many people don't understand what is going on in the ocean. So I do think it is our duty as the older generation and as ambassadors of the sea and of the ocean to educate people of all walks of life and connect everybody to the ocean. Because without a healthy ocean, we're not going to have a healthy earth.
Thank you. And David, I think the first round, we just have to share with about who you are in 2 minutes. So like, I think that maybe some of the viewer, they may not know who you are. So like, I think it's good to have it the first 2 minutes, just talk about yourself first. So like, then we can go with the, what you do and history later. Okay. Do you want to add anything, Anne? If not, I will move it on with David.
You mean give more background on myself? Or I'm a member of the Women Divers Hall of Fame. I'm a fellow of the Explorers Club. I do travel, or I worked for National Geographic as a freelancer on a team with my former husband. We traveled all over the world, worked on at least 36 stories underwater, got quite a view of the planet, felt like a pioneer being able to dive in all these remote places over the years. The Red Sea, Japan, throughout Indonesia, the Galapagos, was in the Galapagos for 3 months in the late 70s. It was like being on another planet. Started my diving career in the Red Sea, in the Sinai, in the mid 1970s. It was like being on the moon. There was nothing there. And steps offshore from the Sinai Desert at Sharm el-Sheikh was the most exquisite paradise you can imagine. And now over the years, that's all gone. That's all been overdived, polluted, finished. So my background really is geared towards educating people about my beloved ocean.
Thank you, Anne. David. Hi, David.
Oh, hi. I started diving in 1961. It came about, I can't remember a time when I haven't wanted to be a diver. My grandfather was in the Navy. He was a diver, an old hard hat diver. Of his 2 sons, my dad's brother was a commercial diver that used to travel the world, come back with suitcases full of loot that he'd pillaged from various wrecks. And on the other side of the family, there was another uncle who was something to do with diving, someone that I'd never met. And at the age of 16, I joined the British Sub-Aqua Club, became a 3rd-class diver. And shortly after then, I joined the Navy. And as soon as I was old enough, I volunteered to become a diver. And with my kit bag over my shoulder, a young 19-year-old, I fronted up to the diving school, to the chief petty officer there, and presented my draft papers. And he took one look at me, took one look at the draft papers and said, "Strike, eh? Strike, what's your father's name?" And I said, "Roy, Chief." "Roy, eh?" He said, "I'm your uncle, lad. You will pass this course," which I mistook, of course, for a statement of fact. He meant it as an order. And ultimately, I did pass the course, but mainly because I was terrified of failing it. Had a very enjoyable time in the Navy, diving in various parts of the world, mainly in the Far East. And after leaving the Navy, went to the company CB Gorman and Company in the UK, did a refresher course there, and then out to the North Sea oil rigs, diving on those until we moved to Australia. In Australia, traveled quite extensively around Asia and became involved with Rainer Segel when he first started Asian Diver magazine, and became involved with that and the startup, of course, of the ADEX show. And today I still enjoy diving and still get a great deal of pleasure out of it. One thing that my attitude has changed enormously. In the Navy, there was always this attitude that the biggest ashtray in the world was the other side of the deck of the ship, i.e. in the ocean. And it's something that we just took for granted, that the sea was capable of replenishing itself. And of course, that's not the case. And I've become far more aware today of just how fragile it is and how dependent we all are upon it. So that, in very brief, is my story.
Thank you, David. Michael Menduno. Sorry, we have 2 Michael on the panel, so I think I go to it. Michael Menduno.
Here we go. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Great. Okay, good. So I learned to dive back in 1976. Around the time, shortly after that, I became a writer. I'm a journalist. I've been writing about diving for, 30 plus years. Currently, I'm editor-in-chief of a magazine called In Depth, an online magazine from GUE, also a contributing editor for Dan Europe, Alert Diver, and X-Ray Magazine, and write for Asian Diver and other magazines over the years. I guess my claim to fame would be being in the right place at the right time, unlike the Dr. John song. And this goes back to the late 1980s when a new form of diving was just emerging, now called technical diving, of course. But back then, there wasn't a name for it. And at the time, in the sport diving, self-contained diving world, 40 meters was the maximum limit people dove to or were supposed to, because there's nothing to see below 40 meters. These were all nonstop dives. And yet, there was a whole group of small groups of people venturing further, driven by exploration to go where no one has gone before. I, at the time, was in the computer industry and recognized what was happening. And that was really a technological revolution. Other communities, beginning with the military, who invented mixed gas technology back in the 30s, the commercial divers went to mixed gas technology in the 60s. And so in the 80s, mid to late 80s, sport divers were starting to experiment with this. So I found it just fascinating. I wanted to be a writer and tried to publish some stories about this, and no one would publish them because they said, you're not supposed to do that. Sport divers aren't supposed to go below 40 meters. You're not supposed to do deco diving. And the result was I started a magazine called Aquacore, primarily because I was just hungry for information on this kind of diving, and started some conferences, the Tech Conference, along with that, and Rebreather Forum. And through the 80s and 90s, tech diving, which I ended up coining the term in the magazine, really took off. And in the space of about a decade, we doubled, tripled, quadrupled our underwater envelope, our underwater playground, if you will. From, again, the no-stop dives to 40 meters to, well, now people, of course, are diving to hundreds of meters and doing just amazing stuff. So anyway, that's my story.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Hi, Wyland. Your mic is mute. Okay.
Can you see me, John?
Yes.
There it is.
Hi.
Hey, buddy.
Hi.
John, you want me to talk now?
Yes, please share with us a little bit about you for the first 2 minutes. Yes.
Okay. So, all right. Well, I've been diving for a while, over 40 years, and I was inspired by Jacques Cousteau, like many of us, and he was my hero. And I realized, I couldn't be Jacques Cousteau. We already had Jacques Cousteau, but maybe I could do something with my art. But Cousteau really inspired a generation about not only, the ocean, but the conservation. And he really inspired our generation. I also was inspired by Greenpeace and the first Earth Day back in 1970. And by the way, happy Earth Day, 50-year anniversary of Earth Day. Many of us were there. I was a young kid. I think I was 12 years old or so. But I've been diving my whole life, pretty much. And in fact, I got inducted into the Scuba Diving Hall of Fame there, the Nogi Awards, back in 1998, which was the International Year of the Oceans. It was in New Orleans. So I took my Nogi Award down to Bourbon Street, and we celebrated with Joe from Scuba Pro and all my buddies, Guy Harvey, friend of yours as well. And anyway, that was great. And about 10 years ago, I was inducted into the International Scuba Diving Hall of Fame with Jacques Cousteau and Sylvia Earle and David Doubilet, Ernie Brooks, all the legends. So that was a great honor. And Grand Cayman and Leslie Leaney, thank you so much. And anyway, diving has given me as an artist the perspective that I wanted to bring in my painting, sculptures, and in those 101 ocean murals that I painted around the world. So when I'm diving, John, I'm actually painting underwater. You know, I'm seeing the images that will reflect in my art. And, you know, I felt early on that art could play a very important role, very important. Art, music, all of it, filmmaking. So we organized this group called the Ocean Artist Society, Guy Harvey, myself, and Bob Talbot. And anyway, we have over 500 artists, you know, painters, sculptors, filmmakers, all of us, photographers. And when the artists speak with one voice and use their art as the platform, we can reach over 1 billion people. So I encourage the artists to continue to bring that message. Michael Awe was so great about bringing the artists together for a trip to Antarctica. And that was a great 6-week, you know, expedition. We got to dive with, of course, the penguins, the leopard seals, and then the same group 2 years later got to go to the Arctic with Dr. Sylvia Earle, who is absolutely, there was Jacques Cousteau, now there's Dr. Sylvia Earle, and she's amazing. I encourage everybody there to support Mission Blue, her group. She's protecting the heart of the planet. And Sylvia was the first member of the Wyland Foundation along with Lloyd Bridges. And Lloyd Bridges, yes, inspired me, sea hunt, and he became a great friend. He narrated a film on my work early on. And Lloyd was a real hero for whales, for the ocean. And he was an incredibly generous guy. And Jeff and Bo Bridges and Lucinda, his kids, his wife, Dorothy. You know, the great thing about diving, guys, is the community, John. You know, we're one community. We've experienced these things. And, you know, I really want to pass on my inspiration of how diving has inspired me to be an ambassador for the ocean from the beginning and try to reach out to young people. Every person should have the opportunity to dive the ocean realm, you know, and much of it is disappearing, but I'm very hopeful. And I'm hopeful because of the young people, because of what they're bringing to it. They no longer just want to sit back and learn about ocean and conservation. They're taking action. And that's why I think art for me is important too, to keep art in our schools, not only in the US, but around the world, because art drives creativity. You know, it inspires creative thinking. And we need that today. And in fact, my foundation, the Wyland Foundation, we're really focused on water, you know, both saltwater and freshwater habitats. And the idea is to inspire all 7.5 billion people on the planet to be water wise, to preserve, protect, and respect. Sylvia added, respect our water. You know, water is life. Water's the source of all life on Earth, and every drop counts. And for divers, we get to see this. So I encourage you, if you're watching this, to get your kids, immerse them in the beautiful nature, the ocean, and take that nature in your heart and your mind, and it never leaves. Once you experience it, it stays with you throughout your life. So we need more of it. We need to get people outside, especially now with this quarantining going on. The ultimate quarantining, John, is to go diving. Social distancing, come on, man. It's automatic, especially me. I go the opposite direction as everybody else. But anyway, great honor to be with you, John. ADEX was one of my favorite dive shows. DEMA, of course. Tom, great job. Beneath the Sea, Zig, you guys. And now ADEX, you know, I had the opportunity 5 years ago to be there and be honored with you guys and paint. God, it was great. And Ernie Brooks, the hero.
Yeah, he said it's too early for him to wake up the time. When he checked the time.
All right, that's good. That's Ernie.
Yeah, weekend he will join us anytime. I'm not sure he can.
Hey, John, you know, he was my roommate. Michael Awe was nice enough to make him my roommate in Antarctica for 6 weeks. And everybody's out there, you know, taking pictures, all of us, Doubilet, everybody taking pictures of Antarctica, thousands of them with the digital cameras that we have now. Ernie kind of comes out there at the end. He kind of looks at the light, takes his camera. He makes one f-stop. One picture goes back into the room. And I'm thinking to myself, geez, you know, and the picture was better than everyone. I mean, that's Ernie Brooks.
Thank you, Wyland. Hi, Michael.
My pleasure, John.
Thank you. Thank you. Michael, I'm sorry just now I didn't introduce. I was so fast that I missed it. Yes. Okay. I'd like to hear from you as well. You muted you to Mike.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Nice to
Hi,
see you,
Michael.
Paul. Captain Paul Watson. Last time I saw you was in Paris at the 2015 in Paris. Hi, Annie. Hi, David. It's past your bedtime.
It is.
Hi, Jamie, Annie. Annie, how are you? Wyland.
Good, good.
Hey, Michael.
Didn't see you last year at DEMA. Okay, a little bit about myself. I was, so to speak, a what I call it, a tourist diver in the 80s. But that was in my previous profession when I quit in 1990 and started taking up underwater photography. And I was very lucky, very fortunate to be working in a place called what you know now as Bunaken Marine Park. At the time I was there was only two resorts, and there was hardly any international flights that getting in there. In fact, the only way to get there is fly Jakarta. And I fell in love with the place, and I was very lucky that I met Dr. Hani Batuna. He let me stay at his resort. And of course, you know, after quitting my first job, I don't have any money. And he was very kind to invite me to stay at his resort for 8 months to make a new book for this marine park. And that was, the book came out in 1993, and very, very lucky again. I was at the right place, the right time. I met the Minister of Tourism in Indonesia, and he invited me to, if he bought a couple of thousand books, and he invited me to present a book at APAC in 1994. So I met all the president and prime minister of the Asia Pacific, and I got to present my book to Clinton at the time. And there goes its history. Since then, I make books for Malaysia, Brunei, Maldives, Palau, and everywhere. And that was a bit of my history. And since then, that park, so to speak, at the time of Bunaken Marine Park, Silk Air started flying there in 1994 after my book was published. And of course, more divers went there and went downhill from 2 resorts. By 1998, there was like 15 resorts. And at that time, I feel that maybe it's because of my book that I've brought this damage to the beautiful place. And then to work with the local, we got the some kind of management in place. And by 2005, the local resort got together and formed an association, got ranger in place, and start having some kind of management to the park. And now if you go back to Bunaken now, you see more turtles than when I first started in 1992. So there's good news, you know, and the coral is in good shape. That's because of management, because of divers getting there. In a way, they help to police the reef. So that is how I, so to speak, started my career as a conservationist photographer, and then that's history, so to speak.
Thank you, Michael. Kurt, are you there? I didn't see you in the video. Kurt? I think he's difficult. Okay, I think because of the times, I would like to have it like I will go back with the Paul. Well, I like to hear it from you on the what you think in the past. What is you think that is an achievement, and what you think that you might do something better, that you a little bit of anything that you regret what in the past, or what is your achievement in your history so far? What you think?
Are you talking to me? I didn't get the first part of that.
The first is the what you think that is your achievement. Can you share with us in your achievement in your lifetime? Then the second one is that what you think that it should be do different way, or it should be any regret what you did in the past?
What Sea Shepherd has done over the years, we've now been around for 42 years. I started the organization in 1977. But in 1999, we started a program where we were working in partnership with the Galapagos National Park to protect the marine reserve. And that was our first partnership with the government, and that was with Ecuador. Since then, we've now formed partnerships with governments around the world where we provide the resources and they provide the enforcement, the authority. So now in Africa, we're partnered with Liberia, Cape Verde, São Tomé, Namibia, Tanzania, the Gambia, Ghana, and we're developing new relationships with other countries. And what that means is that we go into their waters and we patrol their waters to stop poachers. In the last year, we've shut down 52 poaching operations in African waters. We're doing the same thing in Latin America with partnerships with Peru, with Costa Rica, with Mexico, and with Colombia. And to protect Cocos Island off of Costa Rica, Mapelo Island off of Colombia. And probably our most effective campaign right now is the protection of the endangered Vaquita porpoise in the Sea of Cortez, where we're working in partnership with Mexico. And what that means is that for 6 years now, we've been involved with searching out, confiscating, and destroying illegal gill nets. We've seized over 1,200 of them, about 120,000 meters in total, and destroyed them. And I'm quite confident if it wasn't for that 6 years of doing that the Vaquita porpoise now would be extinct. And so we're keeping those numbers level. And in fact, there was a newborn this year. And a lot of people say, well, you know, they're going to go extinct, so why even bother? Well, as long as they're there, we're going to protect them, because, you know, we brought the whooping crane back and the California condor. I think we can do the same thing with the Vaquita. So that's where I thought that with Sea Shepherd we could contribute the most, is with developing these partnerships. Now outside of national waters, then we operate under the definition of the World Charter for Nature, which allows for non-government organizations and individuals to uphold international conservation law. And so that part of it gets us into a lot of trouble, but it's very effective. After quite a few years of confrontations with the Japanese whaling fleet, I'm happy to say that Japan no longer kills whales in the Southern Ocean. The Southern Ocean Whale Sanctuary is now 100% protected. And this year is the first year in the history of whaling that no whales will be killed in international waters. It's an incredible milestone. When I first began doing this in 1974, there was something like 25,000 whales being killed every year. That's been very much reduced. Back in '74, Chile and Peru and Australia, Canada, so many other countries were involved. Spain were involved in killing whales. Now it's just down to Japan, Norway, and Iceland and Denmark. Iceland didn't kill any whales last year. They're not going to kill any whales this year. Japan is now second place. Norway's now the largest whaling nation on the planet. And I think Japanese whaling will be phased out in the next 5 years, because it's incredibly subsidized by the Japanese government. It's really in its dying days. To me, my lifelong ambition is to eradicate the perversity of whaling. And I think that we'll be able to achieve that. Now, on top of that, we're directing our attentions to illegal fishing, overfishing, unregulated fishing. We shut down the Southern Ocean toothfish fleet, shut them all, 6 of those down. It was the longest pursuit of a poacher in maritime history, with the chasing of the thunder from the coast of Antarctica all the way to the coast of West Africa. And after 110 days of pursuit, the thunder captain sank his own ship in front of us to try and destroy the evidence. But my crew boarded that ship, got the evidence, and the captain and 2 of his officers ended up going to prison for 3 years, and the company was fined 17 million euros. So I think that what we've done now is discovered where we can really make a difference here, and that is with these strong partnerships. And we're also working with Interpol because of the evidence that we collected during that period was very instrumental in shutting down other operations, and Interpol took advantage of that. So this is where we want to see ourselves expanding in the future. We're now the largest non-government Navy in the world. We have 12 ships out there in pretty much every ocean. And right now I got about 200 crew members, volunteers from about 25 different countries. And so we're truly an international marine conservation force in that respect.
Thank you. I think this is very inspirational. So like this is something that I want to share with the whoever watching or people around the world, that this is something that the history that why the reason that I asked for achievement, because I want more new generation to be inspired. And I also want to learn from the mistake. That so like is anything that is I want to share with everybody after Paul, that any regret, that is something that I want to learn that as well. So like when I have to be our next generation, what we should learn from the history. That's it, you know. But you are amazing, and I think something that is really like what you do is not everybody can achieve. This is something that I do respect a lot, and that you are a defender of the ocean. Thank you. Thank you, really. I'm glad to be talking to you here.
I just wanted to add one more thing. The strength of an ecosystem is diversity. So therefore, the strength of any movement has to lie in diversity too. So not everybody does what we do, but you know, whether your approach is education, litigation, legislation, or direct action, whatever, it all points to the same end. Doesn't matter what you do, as long as you put your skills, your abilities to use and harness your passion to courage and imagination, and that's what changes the world. Thank you.
And I'd like to come back to you, and what you think your achievement with diving, and what you think that you might do something better. Is any regret is in the past that what you do with the oceans or diving industry?
Well, picking up on a little bit on what Paul said, we're all individuals. There's over 7 billion people on the planet. And no matter what we do, if everybody can do something that they're passionate about, that will relate them to the ocean and to the planet, it would make a difference. It would change the world. And for me, in my life, I've been very fortunate that I've got to travel to so many remote places on the globe and dive and document and meet people, and then go back years later, so I could sort of trace the changes that were happening that were just so devastating. And I do just to be very personal, one, I remember I had a real aha moment in my life coming back from my first trip to the Arctic, where I got Arctic fever, just the quality of the light and the silence and the ice and everything melting and the colors. And I was, in that transitional zone where you're half asleep and half awake on the plane. And I had this vision that all the corals I had been photographing all over the planet for the past 30 years were disappearing and dying. And all the ice that I had just witnessed for the first time was melting. And then I got the opportunity to go to the Antarctic, where again, I was just knocked out by, first of all, walking around at the bottom of the planet, the very bottom of the planet, with all the penguins and the silence and the ice cracking. And I really wished that that everybody on the planet could experience this. And if they can't go there in person, at least see it in pictures and films and the work that everybody is doing. So when I had that aha moment on the plane, I hatched the idea of an ongoing life project, which is called Coral and Ice. And I put together a show that was exhibited the first time at the National Arts Club here in New York City. And I made these big diptych panels, and they were like 6 feet tall. And the top image was a melting iceberg, and the bottom image was a disappearing, vanished coral. And over the years, I've been able to sort of take this message around, because it's all connected. The corals are disappearing, the ice is melting, the little creatures, the phytoplankton in the water are disappearing, and the whole food chain is at risk, because of the largest creatures, the whales, eat the smallest creatures, the plankton and the krill. And so my message that came out of all of that, out of my Coral and Ice, was I also hatched this idea of hope, which is help ocean protect Earth. And that came from a very important aspect of my life, which is a mentor. And Dr. Jeannie Clark was my lifetime mentor. And I cannot stress the importance to young people of having a mentor to learn from in their lives. And a little bit on my history, I was an English lit major in college. I'm not a scientist, so science was not my métier. But the intersection of science with art is so important to get across how interconnected everything on the planet is. And it was from Jeannie Clark that I really learned how to dive and operate and be underwater. I was able to work with her on about a dozen stories for National Geographic over about 12 or 15 years. She was the science writer on our stories. And it was from Jeannie that I learned how to dive with sharks. I just imitated her every move underwater. I sort of attached myself to her like a remora to a shark. I exhaled when she exhaled. I kicked when she kicked. And through her and her ability to communicate science so well, I learned how important science is in everyday life. So I would like to give that message to everyone, all the young people out there and people who are watching, that mentoring is a very important thing in our field. And all of you, all of us here on this panel, we have such history and such perspective of the world, which has changed so much in our lifetime, that it's a responsibility to us to communicate that and educate the next generation coming up.
Thank you, Anne. Hi, David. Yes, can you share with us on your achievement in your history, and anything that you would change, any regret in the past?
I'm glad you asked, John. Regrets. I was going to say I've had a few. I've had many, many, many regrets. Would I change any of them? No, not really. I might do things slightly different. When I started diving with the Navy, entry-level diving on a rebreather was using a single hose, pendulum breathing. When you arrived as a diver, you could move to open circuit air using a twin hose regulator. Now, of course, things have changed, but I remember at the time saying that or using a single hose open circuit regulator for the very first time, and very firmly saying that they would never catch on and never, ever replace the twin hose. And how right I was, now that so many people are using rebreathers. But regrets, no. Biggest achievements, I don't think I've had that many really outstanding achievements. I've published and been fortunate to have published numerous articles about diving in various magazines. I've edited some magazines, written a couple of books, including the current Dining with Divers cookbook in conjunction with Simon Pridmore. The biggest achievement, probably as an instructor, taking someone diving for the very, very first time, and as soon as they've immersed themselves in the water and seeing fish and just watching their eyes that suddenly glow, it just gives you such a wonderful, warm feeling. That would undoubtedly be the biggest achievement that I've made in diving, is helping other people discover just what they're capable of. Hello, we've got some feedback there. Oh, wow, it's like being in a church. There was a great echo there. Sorry, so the biggest achievement was helping others discover their potential and enjoying the ocean.
Thank you, David. That is really... Gulf, just Gulf, you're muting your mic. Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes. We can hear you. Yeah.
Now I achieved to get a connection now with my iPhone. It doesn't work with the big Mac here.
Sure.
You know, in the south of France, everything is a little weird here. Anyway, okay. Pleasure to meet you, you guys.
Yes.
Long time no see.
Yes, we are now talking about the your achievement and anything that you regret in the past that you might do something different in the diving.
Okay. The connection is not very good, but I have understood what I would change since the beginning of diving until now. The difference I've seen in diving, in the diving industry, in the diving scene now is that everything went on since about 25 or 30 years or even longer without taking care of the environment. They put all the strength into creating new equipment and diving training, diving education, which is good, which I appreciate that also, but they didn't think about to inform and teach diver and building equipment in a way it's good for the environment, it's good for the ocean. And this is something they should have started in parallel to the rest what's went on in the diving industry. Also to create awareness. The same, they're creating dive computers and all the things, pieces of equipment. Parallel to that, they should have a line awareness for the ocean. Then many of those effects happens in the 25 years, which all of you guys have seen it. I'm diving for more than 50 years, and one of the presenters on the TV show calculate I was 25,000 hours underwater. And my first dive was 1965 in Eilat and the Red Sea. And then all over the world until now. So I have seen personally with my eyes, and I documented with my movie and my still cameras the change. And if what I just mentioned, at the same time they create more, develop the diving industry, develop the diving, the teaching of diving, the diving education, they should have developed the awareness for the divers, awareness for the ocean. This is something I was missing in a history of diving in the past, let's say 50 years. Yes.
Thank you, Kurt. So you have a book out, your history books as well, right? Hi, Wyland. Do you want to share?
Hey,
you want to share your achievement and anything that you regret?
Sure, John. And hey, thank you for doing this, by the way. I'm sure all of us are very happy to do this during this quarantining time. And I know us speakers are happy to share, our vision and what we know and through our diving and experiences. For me personally, since 1971, after I saw the ocean for the very first time, I just decided that art could play an important role in conservation. And so, back in 71, I saw the Pacific Ocean for the first time. And I actually saw 2 gray whales, a mother and calf, migrating along the shore, and really made an impact on me. And if you've ever seen a whale, I mean, it changes your DNA. It really changes you. So, but anyway, I tried to use my art over the many years to inspire people. I painted 101 ocean murals around the world. The last one I did was in Seattle at the Edgewater Hotel with Eddie Vedder. Eddie had apparently done some graffiti, so he jumped onto the scaffolding and we painted life-size orcas from the J pod. So that was cool. So I like to bring art and science together. So I'm really proud to work with people like, Dr. Mike Big and Graham Ellis, John Ford up at the mural that I did in Victoria was one that is still there. It needs a touch up. But I like when art and science come together, and that's why Sylvia Earle has been such a big asset to the Wyland Foundation in developing art and science programs. And I think the very thing that I'm most proud of, John, and all you guys there, is that I've actually, when I painted the 101 walls, I've always invited the kids from the community to come and paint with me. And so I painted with over 2 million kids now. I actually count them when I paint. Million, 1, million, 2 million. And, you know, when you paint with kids, you kind of see what they're thinking, you know, art reveals. So I also create a lot of music. I make documentary films. You know, I've never had to get a real job, guys. I've been one of the lucky ones. Since I was 4, I've been an artist. And, you know, I just believed in myself and always had a lot of confidence there. But what I really believe is that if we continue to share our knowledge like we're doing here today with our youth, we can inspire them to be ambassadors for the planet. We can instill in them through art their creativity to create new ideas about ways to protect the environment. And we need a healthy planet, but we really need to have all 7.5 billion people on board. And the most powerful thing is when the kids take what they learn home to their parents. They're the biggest influencers, okay? You know, I can tell somebody, or, you know, you guys can tell somebody to do something and they're gonna go, ah. But if the kids come home with this experience, this knowledge, they can really make an impact on their families, their communities. So I'm proud of all the young people that have grown up to become marine biologists that I've interfaced with. So I'm most proud of that. Would I do anything over? No, I've had a pretty great life. My next project is to do 100 monumental sculptures in 100 great cities, and 10 of them will be underwater. So you have to dive or snorkel to experience them. And I'm designing them to attract coral and be habitat, but also, you know, art on that scale is so powerful. And art, music, filmmaking, it will continue to be the driver, in my opinion. You know, like it always has been from the beginning of time, art is going to inspire. And my art is all about conservation. So, and I've realized a long time ago, I had my 15 minutes. Let's put the light on these young people now. Let's get them in the water. Let's get them diving. Let's get them to experience what's left. You know, and there's plenty left. And the reality is, we have a lot of water, but we're not taking care of it. The salt water, the fresh water. So we need to find creative ways to, you know, protect more areas like Sylvia Earle does with Mission Blue, the heart of the planet. Now we need to start thinking about the arteries, you know, which are the rivers, the lakes, the streams, the ponds and wetlands, the freshwater habitats. If we're going to protect our ocean, guys, we need to protect our freshwater habitats around the world. So that's what the Wyland Foundation and Mission Blue and all our conservation partners are really focused on at this moment. But I really appreciate you, John, all you guys telling your stories, and hopefully we can, you know, inspire more people around the world to simply, you know, care. You know, that's where it starts. But more importantly now, to cause action.
Thank you, Wyland. And
Thank you, John.
It is the always science always need the art in it. I think that without the arts, I believe in art. It is. I think it's very important for us to appreciate the both science and artists.
Well, a picture is worth 1,000 words, John. You know, a picture is worth 1,000 words. They've always said that, and maybe even more than 1,000. And so you photographers, you filmmakers, you divers, you painters and sculptors, street artists, just keep going, man. Just take your inspiration, you know, and artists are, you know, we're kind of weird characters, but for me personally, you know, I couldn't be Jacques Cousteau. I couldn't be a scientist like Sylvia Earle, but I can be myself. I can be authentic with my art. And the best thing in the world is collaboration. When we work together, you know, for the big picture, we can inspire change. And we need a global renaissance period. And we're going to go one way or the other. And Sylvia Earle said something very important. She said, what happens in the next 10 years will impact the next 10,000 years. Think about that.
Thank you, Wyland. Michael Menduno. Michael, yeah, share with us what's your achievement, and do you have any regret?
Well, let me see. I'm grateful to have helped give birth to technical diving and help make it legitimate, not only legitimate, but really kind of leading or at the vanguard of sport diving. I mean, these are the people that really care about diving. Part of that has really been a focus on safety. You know, it's very easy to make a deep dive. You just strap on your rebreather, some tanks, and go down. The challenge is coming back up and not getting hurt. And from the beginning, AquaCorps was always really focused on diving safety. I think more than that, I'm really grateful to have chronicled the stories of our extraordinary community. You know, it's funny because diving is such a tiny activity economically. I mean, our whole industry globally might be $1.5 billion annually. You know, that's like iPhone sales for a week. And yet most of the world is water. We are the people that go underwater. So I think we have an enormous responsibility. You know, if we don't care and take the message to people, who is going to? No one. So it really behooves all of us, I think, to be ambassadors for the ocean and water. So regrets. I mean, I have little minor regrets here and there, but no big regrets. And I don't know if I could change anything. It just sort of happened the way it happened. And I'm grateful to have been along for the ride. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Michael, do you want to share your achievement and any regret that in the past that you might do different things? We can hear you.
Yeah, okay. I have lots to tell, but let's, based on what is important and close to my heart first is, as I mentioned earlier on, I published my first book in 1994. At the time, I was very frustrated because I started writing for magazine and taking pictures and writing for magazine. And during that few years, the magazine, maybe even so, some magazine now, they only publish stories and features if there's some kind of advertising support. I dare say that in the 90s, no magazine would touch a conservation stories. There's no conservation. There might be natural history stories, but no conservation stories. And that was very, very frustrated. So because I came from an advertising background, and the only way for me to do it is publish my own magazine. And that's one night always in a bar. It all started always in a bar. And the idea came to me and my good friend Christopher Lee and Mukris Mahathir in Malaysia at that time. He's the son of the prime minister. I said, we're going to do this. We're going to start a magazine that can be our voice for natural history, for conservation. And that's when we came to the idea of starting Asian Geographic. And of course, later on, we bought a scuba diver. And then I met John. We hired John Thet. And we're very grateful for John for coming on board with us. And then we negotiated to buy Scuba Diver. And there we started publishing story about conservations. I remember in 2001, we viewed John as the art director for the magazine. I say we need to change the image of sharks. I do not want to see any pictures of sharks with jaws open in our magazine. And then we wrote a story. We published a smiling shark on the cover. No open jaws, no blood coming out of the teeth. That's how we all started with stories, conservation stories that give a better image for sharks. And then we did shark campaign in 2001 while it came to Singapore. And then because it's a commercial enterprise, we have to survive. And then we became Paddy Diving Society magazine in 2004. And that is when I say this is not me anymore, because I can't do it because everything is based on advertising, based on selling equipment. Then that's where I passed the baton to John. I said, I'm out of here. And then by 2007, after 2 years break, I get a few friends and say, let's do a magazine that's run by a non-profit organizations. So in other words, we can publish what we want, as we don't have to worry about advertiser. We don't have to worry about that manufacturer. In fact, we say we do not want any manufacturer in our magazine. And to this day, I don't have any manufacturer as advertising our magazine. And of course, I was very fortunate that Rolex came on board. CCAM came on board. They were our founding advertiser. And to this day, as long as we keep on printing, they keep on supporting the magazine. And that's how we were able to do it. We're not greedy. We don't have to go out to sell ads, but we've become a voice for the oceans. And then came 2008, 2 years after starting Ocean Geographic. I met wonderful people like, Wyland, Sylvia Earle, Doubilet, Ernie Brooks, etc. I say, how can I get all of us onto one boat and do something together? Not that I can afford to pay them, I can't afford to pay them. Wyland never got paid. In fact, Wyland bought his own ticket to the Antarctic with us, bought his own ticket to the Arctic with us, and do something and inspire the greater populations, and also the scientists coming together, the collaboration of arts and science to produce an expedition reports on what is there now with scientific data, at the same time with arts and photography, and put it in an exhibition together that we can go around the world with it. So in 2010, we did Elysium Antarctic. 2015, we did Arctic. And 2018, we did the Coral Triangle. And then last year, we brought the exhibition to Beijing, Shanghai, Chengdu, Australia, Singapore, Malaysia. And that's how I see it, is that it's a collaboration. We need to collaborate. Every one of us got to come together and for a cause to inspire change. As far as regrets, I make mistakes along the way, and I'm happy to say I do not need to fall back on anything. In fact, I do fall. When I fall forwards. What's next? What can I do? How can I do better? And so we're going to go back in 2022 to Antarctica again. And this time, as being reported today, the Antarctic is melting fast. We're going to go to the place to document the penguin species, the biomass. We understand that on some islands, like the second biggest concentration of penguin on Elephant Islands, from 150 breeding pairs is now down to 60,000 breeding pairs. So we're going to do that in 2022, and it's something that we really want to look forward to doing. And everyone is welcome to join us. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, I think I want to be close with the individually from the any message for the young generation that I like to start with the any. You want to leave any message for the new generation? What you share with us? Starting with the Paul.
A message just for the younger generation. Yeah, well, it's going to be an interesting world that they're going to inherit. I have a 3-year-old son, so I can't even imagine what kind of world he's going to be living in 30, 40 years from now. I think that the only thing that's going to really save us is embracing a biocentric point of view, something that indigenous people around the world understand, but we have long since forgotten. We've got to stop putting ourselves as the most important species on this planet, the only species on the planet that really matters, and realize that we're part of something much bigger. We're part of a whole, and that means learning to live in harmony with all other species. Also, I think we really have to look at what is the ocean. We think of it as the sea, but it's more than that. The ocean is the planet. This is the planet ocean. It's water in continuous circulation. It's not only in the sea, it goes into the ice, it goes underground, it's in the atmosphere, and it's in the cell of every living plant and animal on the planet. Virtualization. So that is a meaning that the ocean is us. We are the ocean. So this is really about self-preservation. Any part of it is connected with every other part. And that is a concept that we really have to learn to understand. I think that what we're seeing right now is with this COVID-19 virus is the first ramifications of climate change. The zoonotic transmission of viruses caused by destruction of ecosystems and by our treatment of other animals around the world. We talk about wet markets in Wuhan. What about the wet markets in the United States, the factory farms, and all of these various things, which are really the beginning of all of these things. We got MERS from camels, we got SARS from chicken, and we got flu from pigs, we got the common cold from horses. So as we destroy wildlife and diminish ecosystems, we're going to create situations, including the release of long dormant viruses and pathogens from the melting permafrost and the ice. And so really what we're seeing here is a warning that's being given to us. Shape up or else our days are numbered. No species lives on this planet without living in accordance with the three basic laws of ecology: diversity, interdependence, and finite resources. And right now we're stealing the resources from all of those other species, thereby diminishing both diversity and interdependence. And that can only go on for so long before it all comes crashing down. So this is the world that future generations are going to inherit. And right now, I mean, we're fortunate. We lived in a time when we had probably the greatest freedoms and the greatest material benefits of any generation in the history of this planet. But our children aren't going to see that. No, their world's going to be far, far, far different. They haven't got those guarantees. We live in a less free world today. We live in certainly a world that is eroding the thing that we've not really appreciated. We wipe out species and forget that they were even there. That there used to be mink, sea mink off the coast of Maine, that there used to be belugas in Long Island Sound, that there used to be walrus on the coast of Nova Scotia. We've forgotten all of that. We adapt to diminishment, and that adaptation to diminishment has its limits. And I think we're coming up to the, to see just how close we are to those limits right now.
Thank you, Paul. And you want to share with us on the, do you want to leave the message for the younger generation?
Oh, for sure. And just thinking about all of this and listening to everybody talk, and as I sit here in my office in New York City, I'm still hearing sirens going by on their way to hospital, which is right up the street from me. So it's very hard kind of to separate what's going on in the world now. And it's the whole world. I mean, this virus, this COVID-19 has brought the whole world to our knees. And I think that in terms of future message for the next generation and for children and children of all ages, the world is a very different place now than when we were growing up or than what we experienced. And so I would have to say that, and I feel very sad a lot of the times, because I mean, my daughter is in her mid-30s, and when she was born, I was so excited to bring her to my favorite dive spots in the Red Sea and in New Guinea and even in Japan and the Galapagos. And when she was old enough to dive and I was lucky enough to bring her back there, they were already disappearing. They were already being diminished. They were already being in destruction. So I would say that going forward, the next generation, pay attention, take the lessons from what we have learned, and understand that there are all these beautiful remote places that are in a lot of trouble. But the bottom line is it's people who make the planet. It's people who can make a difference. And I would say that my biggest message now would be, just let the wild be wild. We have to stop cutting down all the rainforests and depleting the ocean and using the ocean as a garbage dump to drown our oceans in plastic. I mean, it just makes me so sad to see what's going on. And we have to have hope, because my message is hope. Help ocean, protect Earth. It's all connected, and we are all connected. And everything that we do as individuals now affects the whole world. So do what you can. I mean, sometimes it's overwhelming. It's kind of like, what can I do as an individual to bring about change? But the bottom line is we should all be dropping into a bucket, because ultimately the bucket will be filled. So I impart a message of hope, even in these times of sirens and illnesses and viruses and craziness. And we can't lose sight of our beautiful planet and our beautiful ocean. So that's my message.
Hi, David.
Hi.
Share with us for the young generation that you want to leave any message for them.
Mine's, I switched off my image just a short while ago so I could reach behind me for a book, which many of you will be familiar with, The Complete Goggler, by Guy Kilpatrick, written in 1934. And the message, the very last paragraph, and if I may, I'll just read it. Man, we reflected, has polluted the rivers, destroyed the forests, pitted the fields with high explosives, obscured the sun with the fumes of industry, filled the heavens with the tumult of planes, and reared 100-story buildings as monuments to his folly. But nothing he has ever done has spoiled the bottom of the sea, nor will anything he can ever do leave a lasting trace upon it. At least we hope not. But just the same, if I were you, I'd get a pair of goggles and see it while the seeing's good. It's a sad sort of reflection that his hope that nothing we would ever do or could ever do would spoil the bottom of the sea, and obviously we are. And it's up to younger generations to make their voice heard in terms of protesting about the damage that we're doing to the oceans. So that would be my contribution there.
Thank you, David. Wyland, I'd like to
Yeah,
hear
John.
a message to a young generation.
Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. So with this 50-year anniversary of Earth Day, I'm very hopeful. And I'm hopeful because of the youth. And what I would say, if we want to protect the environment today, let's continue to talk to each other. But if we want to protect it for the future, we've got to talk to the kids. We got to get our youth. We got to get you young ones on board. So I'm hoping when we do this again, that we do one that is really targeted towards families and our kids. Get them in the room and let them tell us what they're concerned about. But I'm very, very hopeful, and I spend an enormous amount of time with young people trying to engage them. But I also listen to them, and a lot of them have tremendous ideas and are taking actions regarding plastic in the ocean, and they're going to come up with things that our generation couldn't. So that's what really keeps me hopeful, John. So let's continue to invest in our youth. Let's pour everything we know, everything we learn into our younger generation, and keep encouraging them, because once they have it here in their hearts and minds, it stays with them throughout their life, like it has for all of your speakers here and a lot of you people that are watching today. So I want to thank you again, John. You have a big heart. Michael, all you guys, Ernie Brooks. This is a great community, and we're going to use it. But I think we should put everything we have into our young people, because they're the futures, they're the world changers, and they're the ones that can make a difference. So you can't do everything, but we can do that.
Thank you, Alan.
Yes.
Carl, you want to leave a message for the young generation? Carl? Your mic is mute.
You hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I continue.
Yes.
Okay, I've seen a big change in a young generation. I have 2 kids, and throughout the school, high school and university, they really have seen that a big army was created by teachers. Teachers nowadays, on any level, they focus on environment. And the new generation, as far as I see, as far as I hear, as far as I can feel, is that they worry about the future. And in parallel to the education, to make a career, they started to taking care, be aware about the future. So I believe that we have not to focus on our generation. Our generation, they had other interests than to focus on environment and protecting environment. And the result of all of this, it's visible now. That's why we have a world as it is now. The young one will focus on it, and I believe if they're strong enough and they have the power to continue with their philosophy, there will be a big change, And on that point, I want to underline that it's very important that all the movie makers, the photographers, also the underwater photographers, they continue with their philosophy and showing the beauty of the ocean, but showing the beauty of the ocean as they really are. Not, and this is something it always makes me angry. There is a philosophy in underwater photography was created since a few years, pictures at any price. And at that point, I wanted to say that pictures at any price, because of this, the industry has created a business by making it very easy to do great underwater shots without any effort, with any big experience and skills, whatever, by putting dolphins in semi-captivity. You know what happens with the white beluga in a white sea, and all what's going on with the crocodiles to have easy pictures in a sunset and all the things. This is also something it's really not necessary. It's the challenge in photography, as you guys all know, is to fight for the shot, and then you can be proud of the shot. And all those images were done in a very easy way. In fact, the animal was brought to the camera by whatever the trick was. This is not actually as it should be. It doesn't can make you proud. Meanwhile, also people know about that. Also, the magazines, they start stopping images like that because we don't want to be a part. We want to be guilty of what happens now in the ocean by abusing animals for just next by. But what I mentioned before, I believe on a future generation, and I hope if they continue with the power and the force and the right philosophy, there will be big changes on our planet.
Thank you. Michael Menduno, you want to share some message for the young generation?
Yes, I guess when I look at all my illustrious fellow panelists, I see that their vision and passion and determination have really made a difference in the world, all of these people. And so that shows me that one person can make a difference. And I guess that would be my message for young people, that you can make a difference. You know, if you see something that's needed or feel, you can do something about it. It's up to you. So that would be my message.
Thank you. Michael? Yeah. Michael, share with us do you want to leave a message for young generation? Michael, you mute, your mic is mute. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I always say that, you know, children are the future. They can change the world, but they have to be empowered And collectively, all of us right here, and all photographers, we are very close to the oceans. So I think it's our responsibility to empower children. I have 2 kids. They're all divers. They know what the ocean is all about. They know all the name of sharks. If you don't have kids, go and borrow one and inspire one. Or like be a Wyland, go out on the street and inspire 1,000 or millions. It's our job to do it because they can change the world. But they have to be empowered. And you pass the message directly to them. That's our message for us, to empower the kids.
Thank you, Michael. Okay, I'd like to close the message with this. Thank you for everybody's on board tonight. So we've been stretched out a bit of long times. My part, I'd like to share a learn from all the inspirational talk. We all regret is not the way to move forward. I'm totally agree. It's the way that is that all we should be a positive. What we done in the past is the past. So I think it is what we should be moving forward, that we will inspire more from a different area, not just art and also science, to be a conservation, can be a diving. We learn from the history, but we also should be a contribute as a role models that whatever we do. If you are in the media, and I like to share that here you can see a lot of in the past history and the writers to editor, publishers, and a lot of medias. And every industry need a media. The same things apply to the oceans or diving industry. Without the media, you cannot reach out to a community. Nowadays, we got so many different media, and because of the history, it's a change. We are printings to be online, to be a social media. It's so many media out there. We don't need to be afraid of change. We should be inspired change, and we also should be pass a message to a younger generation. And they are the futures. We always, whatever we learn is not just for us to keep ourselves. This is something that I really appreciate everyone come on board on this panel, share your story, and I hope that you all will be still keep going on and inspire and share your past, your knowledge and your education to a younger generation. That is where we will all learn, and we move with the one ocean, one love. That is where we want to achieve. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for having us, John.
Thank
Cheers,
you.
Thank you so much.
Have a good evening.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
John, thank you. Jamie, once again, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to
Thank you,
everyone.
John.
Thank you to
Good job.
everyone.
Thank you.
Likewise, thank you to all
Bye-bye.
of you, all of
Bye-bye,
our
you
panelists
guys.
for joining
Bye.
us
Good
for this
evening.
discussion. It is
Thank
very
you.
interesting indeed to get to know all of you more and your view on protecting our ocean as well. And thank you, John, and the ADEX team, of course, for putting together the ADEX Pixel Virtual Expo, or APE, as we're calling it now. We have had 8 panel discussions today as part of our opening ceremony. And we're going to continue to educate, engage, and as well as entertain you with ADEX Pixel. Every week, we have each theme as the sample of today using already. So please join us every day starting on Monday, the coming Monday, at ADEX Pixel at adex.asia, and also you can follow us on Facebook, ADEX as well. I think we are going to have a little bit of a surface interval as we always do, right, John?
Yes.
So we would like to invite all of you, or I would let John invite you. That would be better.
Sorry? Yeah, I would invite everybody to we will continue with the surface intervals that we want to do on the things, and then after that there'll be this will be a long days, and we will be end with the 700 shots Lauren Ballester movie will be live online, and really looking forward for more single presentation to really want to learn more. One thing that this is my first time that when what I learned about this is that before I started this event at this Pixel Expo, there is no sample or that you cannot copy anywhere because no other dive show or no other event that is online. So you want to create is very careful that we cannot be looks like another media, online media. It is not a media way. So like we need to think a lot of way to create something. And I also believe that it's every 10 years, every 10 years is every decades, time will change. You have to be a part of this change and how you can adapt into it. So whatever situation is, rather than we are giving, and you look at it on the ADEX, a lot of people tell me that every year you bring in more than 100 over speakers, only 3 days. The 1 day is only 8 hours at the show, 3 days, 24 hours. Every speaker have only 10 to 20 minutes to speak. I feel so hard on it. And for me, I'm as a media background, as a publisher, always want a good content. This is where I want to share with the communities, and that's the community grow, the industry will grow. Then everybody will care about more about ocean. So it's very important that this is something that I'm really happy that we don't need to worry about 3 days. We don't need to worry about only 3 days, 8 hours a day. I don't need to worry about, even my team will say, hey, so many speakers now, you have to be careful. We cannot manage the things on it. So this is something that we will be ongoing from now on. After launch, we will be ongoing the weekly basis, or we will have came up with some plan to have it. We got a more chance to have individuals. This today is just a launch of discussion with everybody to get part of this. So we will be continue to educate, entertain, and engage to the industry and communities, of course, to the ocean. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank
Thank you, John.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
If you'd like
Jamie.
to join us at the Happy Hour Fridays or the ADEX Surface Interval as we're used to, please feel free to follow the link on our chat box. It's basically a casual meetup, and we can have a chat, make sure everyone's okay, and supporting each other, whatever we need. And at the end of today, as John mentioned, we are going to be ending with an ocean film of the week. And today we have 700 Charts by Laurent Balesta. I'm definitely going to be watching that before I go to bed because it's almost midnight where I am.
It's almost 2 o'clock here.
All right. So thank you so much.
6 o'clock here.
Thank you for all of you who's been watching today at the launch, the opening of ADEX Pixel. I hope to see you at the happy hour as well, and more of ADEX Pixel. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Jamie.
you all.
Thanks,
Bye.
John.
Okay, though.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
night. Have a good day wherever you
Bye,
are.
Anne.
Everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Ciao,
Ciao.
ciao.
David Strike, say hi to Jane Jenkins for me.
I will do.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye-bye. Ciao.